Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. The month of April has been a little bit slow in both of my vendor booths, which is to be expected in this cyclical business. So I am using this opportunity to do some upcycles to improve my vendor booth space and the shopping experience. If you do not have a vendor booth, you can apply these same techniques to your home and create a cozier space for you. I have some exciting news that I'm going to share with you at the end. So if you want to hear that, make sure you stick around to the end. But if you want to see what I came up with this week, stick around. For project number 1, I am going to be making over this hutch that I got for free. Yes, you heard me right, for free. A number of you didn't want me to paint it, but I promise I'm going to show you some of the damage that shows that it needed to be painted. And it's replacing this particular white hutch that was in my booth that I never really properly made over, so it's not really for sale. And that's doing me a disservice. Here's showing you where just some of the finish on, there's Henry, my supervisor. The finish on the wood is just failing. And I really wanted this piece to shine. First of all, to be able to sell the paint that I paint it with, and then to let the items on top of it shine as well. So I went ahead and finished my first can of Provincial from the DIY Cottage colors, which is a partnership with JRV. I am in love with this color. I am using the very end of my first can and it's kind of thick. I probably should have stirred it a little bit more. You can see it's a little bit thick, but not to worry. It is the first coat, which kind of, when you're painting furniture, you just need to get that first coat on. And then I am learning this. You really do need to stir these paints well so that it works the way that they're meant to work. And I'm not used to doing that with the clay-based paint. So I am opening my second can and adding this beautiful, beautiful color. Now the Cottage colors, when it dries darker, which is also a little bit different because with the clay-based DIY paint, when a clay dries, it dries lighter. It plays with you for just a minute going, I didn't know this paint was so light, but then when it dries, it gets darker. And then when you add that second coat on here, even better. Now I did end up having to do 3 coats. I could have done a primer or salvation solution, but I ended up doing 3 coats of this beautiful Provincial Cottage color. It is a self-leveling paint and I am completely loving how this is finished. I was considering adding some dark wax to it, but in the end I just did no distressing, a nice, beautiful, even finish. And I think that this is a special piece specifically to show off this color to sell in my booth. And then also, so the stuff on here really, really shines. When this video publishes on Friday, I should be receiving my second new color release from the DIY paint. I am sold out in a couple of the items, but hoping that by the time this video is published, that these colors have been replenished. This Provincial has definitely been a favorite. Don't forget the paint and paintbrushes that I am using in today's video is on my website at createyourowncozy.com, and then the paint and paintbrushes are also in Cumming, Georgia at my booth at Angry Mama's Antiques and Interiors. I had upcycled a little wall shelf a while back and just painted it white and just sold it for $75. I put a high price on it and it sold, guys. So I kind of need to replace that in my booth. My store owner, John, gave this to me. I happened to be there the right day and the right time, and I needed this heart to go away. So I got out some aggression. This was a little bit more fun than it should have been. But I kind of knocked off this top piece and I did some damage, but in the end realized I wouldn't have been able to get this off without, it took me a second to get that the right way too. You could see that the screws were screwed on and then the whole thing was glued on. There was no way I was going to be able to get that off smoothly. So this is a nice little solution using some TIghtbond wood glue and clamping it across and letting it dry overnight. Guys, wood glue is like the super glue for wood. This is better than nailing it. As long as you get a good solid coverage on both sides of the wood and you clamp it, it is not going anywhere. So I clamped it, let it dry overnight, and then decided that I wanted to get some juniper in my booth, the new Cottage color juniper. And so I tried to sand off this hand painted paint so that I wouldn't be able to see the ridges. And then I went over the whole thing with juniper. I, again, did not prime this one. I wanted to see how the coverage was because these are the darker colors. I ended up doing I would say 2.5 coats. 2 solid coats. This first coat looks a little bit sketchy, but that second coat really adds the depth. And then the half coat was just the spots that I could see some of the red coming through. My second booth, Soul Sisters up in Dawsonville, Georgia, is about to have a grand reopening, and I still don't have signage up there. This used to be from like 2 houses ago that I decorated my house with this, and I tried to sell it, it didn't sell. And so when I got this little IOD Klingon from the stockist, like when I order, I thought this is the perfect size, and so I just used the insert to cut some wood to size. I painted the outside in the Provincial color, and now I'm going over it with a dark wax just to make it look a little bit more interesting. I would like to note that this picture frame was metal and this paint adhered very well. Just a few spots like kind of rubbed off when I was not so nice with it, and I just repainted it and it stuck well. Now, here is the board that is a stainable board, but look, this is the back of it, and I like the older look of the back, so I just decided to use the back so I didn't have to stain it to age it at all. Decided to go over the whole thing with liquid patina so that it had a nice smoother surface to put the transfer on. I know you could have done it directly on the raw wood. I just didn't want any problems with the transfer adhering. So I went over it with 1 solid coat of liquid patina to kind of seal this raw wood in, and then waited for it to completely dry before I even got my transfer out. If you do not let it completely dry, you will have trouble with your transfer sticking. Ask me how I know. Have you guys ever tried to rush through a project and rush the process? Let me know in the comments below. So this is the look. I did not show you how I got that Klingon on the glass because I did that off camera. It took a bunch of tries to get it on there where it all adhered well. Obviously it's meant for like storefronts where you can put it on your window, but I decided it's going on the back of this glass. I could have used this and put it on the Cricut, but look at all that weeding I would have had to do. This was like $6 on the Stockist page, and I made the smart choice. I decided to show off with Floral Anthology, which is probably my second favorite transfer. It has this vintage look to it. The colors are gorgeous, but I had to be specific about where the flowers were because I wanted the wood behind the words so that you could really read the sign from the front of the store. So I'm marking where the letters are going and kind of cutting and flanking the IOD signage. And the great thing about transfers is you can cut them up, you can layer them and make them look whatever the shape and little cluster that you want them to look like. So I'm just going section by section, seeing if I like how the balance is with both the colors, the size of the flowers, and the number of flowers. And then in between each, I do get that glass out and put it back on top. Now, I could change where that Klingon is, but I am not trying that again. So I would rather keep it on the glass and move these flowers around than deal with that again. So I am layering and just finding the way that this shows off the transfers well. I thought I could have just done with this with the wood, but what a great way to show how to use transfers in my display space. And don't forget, you could apply the same technique. You could stamp some glass, you could add a different transfer to the glass and make this whatever you guys wanted to for your home as well. For my fourth project today, I am going to work on some signage. Someone gave this to me. One of these iron hooks was broken. I just removed the iron hooks and had this gorgeous aged piece of wood waiting for me to use it. I am going to stencil the JRV logo on the front. I was thinking about doing the back, which is just this white piece. But this particular one is going to go up to Soul Sisters. I am going to be adding my JRV paper up there. I got approved to do that, and the store owner wants to add some more creative stuff up there. So I'm really excited, and let's go ahead and make some signage. So I am just using the new Cottage color Anvil and my 1/2" JRV stencil brush and very lightly going over this. I'd rather do multiple layers of light than getting it really heavy and having it bleed. So now let's go ahead and make a sign for my Angry Mama's booth where I've had JRV for over a year and do not have a sign about it. So I cut this scrap piece of wood to size. I'm going to go ahead and use paint on this one since I also sell paint in this booth. This is the Juniper color. Did 2 solid coats on the whole thing and went over this one with the Anvil as well. For this particular one, I wanted to age it a little bit, so I did add some of the vintage texture stamps that I used in last week's video. You guys sold me out of those. I need to place another order, but I added some of the texture to the sign in Angry Mamas to make it a little bit more rustic looking. Quick and easy. Why didn't I do this sooner? I was about to let myself be finished, and then I realized I was missing a little bit of descriptive stuff. This letterpress stamp is new to me, and I got my typesetting stamp out and a scrap piece of wood, painted it in the color Skeleton Key, and then decided between the letterpress, the typesetting, and the new Apothecary stamps that I was going to make a sign that said decoupage and rice paper. I used that cue as a place setter, just so you know why that did not come up. And I am just stamping it with the IOD ink on my thin mount. I am so enjoying these thin mounts to make sure everything is straight and to be able to space it. That E was a little wonky, so I took it off before I made the imprint, and then realized I wanted to make these particular letters a little darker, and then carefully hovered it and pushed it back down. Now I'm spacing out the P and the E that was wonky, and basically having a descriptive sign that says decoupage and rice paper so that people understand when they come to my booth what it is that they are shopping for. This was another quick project, and now I need to make some signs that describe the IOD stuff with molds and stamps and paint inlays and transfers. That is my plan next. For my fifth and final project today, I am finally going to work on a DIY paint Debbie's Design Diary sign for my booth. Now, I just wanted to show you, like, you really do need to mix these. Have I showed that point enough? The paint works better when you mix them. So I had started this project a while ago and never finished it. So I am doing my second coat of Americana. I got the stencils from JRV. You can buy them if you are a stockist. And so I am just trying to do a collage of all of these stencils together and doing the same technique I used on the other one and just kind of trying to make them work well. I decided to do 3 very light coats of the Anvil, and then in the end I sanded it down. I just liked the way that that looked. And since this was my sign that I had, I don't know, put off making forever, I decided to do it the way that I wanted it. And you will see here in a little bit, I accidentally did like a little flourish at the bottom, which caused me to not be able to put the word paint in there well. And I got a little juicy with my stenciling on the Y, and I didn't like how that looked. So I just took a wet wipe quickly and rubbed that off. You'll see that I have been offloading the paint over here to the side, and I just tried to rush this one again, guys, but I got rid of it, redid the Y, and I just don't like the way stenciled letters look, so I used a little fine brush to make the letters look less stencily, and was really happy with how this one came out. Obviously, it is up to you how you want to do these things. I thrifted this little hanger a while back, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it, but it took me this long, oh my gosh, so long to get the sign made. I have some brand new hooks that I'm painting with the black just to age them a little bit. I measure it out, I pre-drill and just kind of screw that in, and you see that I use this really cool stamp in the little stamp envelopes. Guys, this is one of the best things I did for myself, is put all of my stamps and their masks in an individual stamp folder, and it is so organized and so lovely. All right, friends, what did you guys think? Do you think that I helped people understand my spaces a little bit better, know the products that I'm carrying, using some items that I had around or had thrifted to make signs and better spaces in my booth? If you enjoy this content, I would love it if you would hit subscribe, share it with your people, send me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite project was. It really helps YouTube share my space with other people that also want to create their own cozy. Now for the exciting news. I was just interviewed last week by my friend Sonnet over at Sonnet's Garden Blooms for her new podcast, which is on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then she's also putting it out on her YouTube as a video podcast. So next Thursday, I think it's 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Eastern time, next Thursday morning is when that interview is going to be released. I will make sure I share it on all of my socials, but I wanted to give you a heads up. It's very exciting because she has a huge audience. And I was a little nervous. I don't know why. Like, I do this all the time. It was just a different genre. That's just confirmation to keep doing things when you're scared. So that is my exciting news that I'm being interviewed. I hope you tune in. I also hope that you guys work on creating some stuff that feeds your creative soul, even if it's in a functional way, like I did this week for my booth. I still got my creativity on for the better of my business, and that still counted this week. It really felt therapeutic to get some of these items that I had been meaning to do for a bit. Gosh, it's been a bit. It's been great to get those done and be able to make them and not just go out and buy them. That was good for me. I hope that you guys are having a great week and I'll have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.